Hello everyone, I hope you are doing good. My name is Isam and welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about adventure bikes and a dual sport bike, to talk about a difference between them, and if you are wanting to go for a long trip around the world. I'm not talking about going, in the backyard and doing, wheelies, or just, doing some local rides. I'm talking about picking up a bike for a long trip, multi-day trip, or you are planning on crossing, the 5 or 6 continent, and you are gonna travel from USA all the way down to New Zealand or something like that, something like the big YouTube channels, like HE Boots and some channels that they are traveling the world. So I just want to see which bike. I'm not talking about the brand. I'm not talking about the category. What category would you choose? So this is just my observation, my personal observation. The last couple of years, almost 3 years, and I'm riding a big adventure bike, and I met few people that own both bikes. They own dual sport bikes and they own big bikes, and this is just my my observation, and I wanted to share it with you. So if you are, for example, watching a lot of YouTubes and reading and doing your research, and you decide, okay, I think I want to go do my journey with a small adventure bike, or a small dual sport bike, because I want to be able to pick it up if I'm doing some technical stuff off road, or it's easy to fix, it's cheaper. There is advantages to a small dual sport bike, but you end up, like, when you get that bike, for example a Kawasaki KLX 300, and you realize the tank is too small. You get only around 200 kilometers. It's about 124 miles per tank. It's the tank, it's only like 7.5 liters, so it's really small, and you have to buy an adventure kit and spend around maybe $2,000 and accessories, to buy a bigger tank, change the seat because you want your seat to be more comfortable, get engine guard and crash bars and GPS, luggage and camera gear and all that stuff. You are looking on spending another $2,000 or $3,000, and the KLX is only around $5,500 or $5,800. So if you take it out the dealership, you're gonna pay around $6,000 or more, and then you gotta pay your taxes and all that stuff. So you're looking to spend, like, if you get the KLX Kawasaki or the Honda CRF, you're looking between $6,000 and $7,000, and plus the accessories. So for lease, you are gonna spend almost $9,000, because you have to upgrade the windshield and all the previous stuff we mentioned, all that, all the gear and all that. And then when you start going, in your trip, especially hitting some technical stuff, you realize the bike, it's so not easy to maneuver off-road, because with all that luggage, the bike itself feels top heavy. I have asked too many people that they were traveling with the dual sport. Once you have all the luggage, all the stuff loaded on the bike itself feels top heavy. It's a little bit hard to maneuver at slow speeds, and when you drop it, you most likely not gonna be able to pick it up until you you took all the luggage out, and if you drop that bike 3 or 4 times, you're done for the day. Like you already exhausted, and you got really low horsepower to make it. You will struggle just going up some hills, like, and I'm just saying, like, if you are going to spend all that money to turn a dual sport into an adventure bike, to get the adventure kit, why you just don't, you go ahead and get you, for example, Suzuki Versa 650 or the Yamaha Tenere 700. Right now, the 2021, they are like between 6,000, I will say 7,000 and $8,000 in the marketplace, and they have really low mileage, like, and you got plenty of horsepower, around 70 or 72 horsepower, plenty of torque. The bike, it's more capable. I will say, like, the advantage, between the that you get from an adventure bike, you already have a good windshield, you got a good, like, a comfortable seat. Like, from stock, you don't have to do too much to make that bike suitable for your trip. It's already ready to go. And if you get it from, like, a marketplace, if it's used, most of them, they already got them luggage, they are ready for a long trip. So you get, more horsepower, they are comfortable, the wind protection is better. When we are talking about cruising in the highways and the interstate, the you know they feel more stable than a dual sport. I have a friend, he had a Sierra Rally, he had to sell because he was getting way too much vibration. And just to go around the semi track, you have to plan like 5 minutes before you do that, because it's a little bit scary to get too much vibration, and it's just not a fun bike to be trying to do a long trip. Most of the people I know that they ride dual sport, they have a pickup truck, because they don't ride them bikes in the highways or in the interstate. They load them bike in the trunk, and they go, they drive them trucks all the way down to a park or a national forest or whatever. They do them loop over there, and then they load them bike back. It's like you have a four-wheeler or something, you load it back in the truck and you take it back home. Even if you watch the big YouTube channels, the ones that are doing the PDRs or with the dual sports, most of them, they have like a camper or a van, or they load them bikes over there. They drive all the way to California or up to Colorado, or I mean, even Sturgis in South Dakota. They go over there, they do them rally for 3 or 4 days, and then they load them bikes and they head back home. So owning a dual sport, like I told you, you have to own a track too, because you don't want to be doing interstate with the dual sport bike. But with the big adventure bike, they feel more stable and highways. Even their weather proof, like when it's windy, you don't feel so intimidated by the weather. Like, the wind can blow and you're like 35 mile or 40 mile per hour, and you're still like going through that high speeds. But with the dual sport, like, it's miserable. I have friends. Someday I'm gonna make a few reviews about the dual sport bikes, and we can talk to people who owns them and give you them opinion, because most of the people I know, they have big adventure bikes and they have small a small dual sport, and most of the time, like, they find themselves riding here in the USA. I'm not talking about other countries. I know, like, in some countries, the small bike, it works better, because everything is so narrow, everything is so packed together. You don't have that much room to be speeding or anything. So like with the 50cc scooter you can get through, and like small bikes you can get by. But here in the state, like if you got, you know, too much space, you need a big engine, especially if you want to go cruising with with highway speeds and interstate speeds. So yeah, and the other thing, like when we are talking about the maintenance interval between the adventure bikes and the dual sport, the adventure, like most of them, like just the oil changes between 5,000 and 6,000 mile. If you got, you know, good oil like synthetic oil and stuff, the valve clearance is always between 20 and 25,000 miles. Some of them you don't even have to do the valve clearance, like the Pan America. And you know, just when it comes to maintenance, you don't have, like for the adventure bike, like you don't have to worry too much. So for example, the KLX, you have to do the oil change every 1,000 mile, and the valve clearance every 6,000 mile. It's a little bit excessive, you know. Replacing the air filter every 3,000 miles, and you know you have to do all the maintenance for the chain, and every 500 miles you gotta lube and clean the chain. Some of the big adventure bikes, they have a drive shift, so you don't have to worry about that, you know. And it's just feel like if you are going around the world, and I heard this criticism before about the big adventure bikes. They're telling you, oh, they're not capable, you know, to do a long trip. There are so many proof out there that the big adventure bikes, they can get it done. There's two guys from Germany. They had a Yamaha Super Tenere. They rode them Super Tenere all the way down to the Himalayas in India, and the only problem they had, it was with the oil filter. Like one time the oil filter busted you know, some gravel road. It was really rocky, and that is the only problem they have. And if you watch the Lavi and Ollie, this couple from England, and I think his wife, she's from Germany, they have done 75,000 kilometer across the world with the Suzuki V-Strom 1050. It's around 46,000 miles. Like, and the only problem, I have watched maybe the whole thing, the only problem they had was the suspension and the bearings in the rear wheel. You know, you just have to do your basic maintenance, and that's it. There is so many other channels, like they took the Honda Africa Twin all the way down to Argentina. There is plenty of channels where people that are riding big adventure bikes, and they are taking them all around the place for, you know, and they look, to me, they look more comfortable than a dual sport bike. At least you are, you know, off-road freak, and you just want go do single trails all the time, and be in remote places the whole time. But when you go to the realistic rides, the highway and the interstate, maybe you do it more than the off-road, because most of the off-road right now, it's owned, you know, by people. It's all like private land. You need a permission to go through it, or there are conservation areas where sometimes you are not allowed to take a motor vehicle through these conservations. And yeah, the off-road is getting harder and harder through the years, so you are riding most of the times like in the pavement, or maybe some gravel or something like that. So the advantage that I see with the dual sport, they are light. Like for example, the Kawasaki KLX is only 300 pound or 302 pound, But adding all that kit, if you watch a guy in Canada, like he had to, to buy an adventure kit for the Kawasaki KLX, adding more, more bigger tank, adding all the gear, adding everything. So you go from 300 pound to 400 or 450, like, especially if you are a YouTuber, you are filming, you gotta have gear, you gotta have a bunch of stuff, and that adds plenty of, of weight to the bikes. And I seen a couple videos of him, like when he drops the bike off-road, he can't pick it up. Like, so where's the point of getting a lighter bike and you still can't pick it up off-road? But it's, when I'm talking, like when you are tired and riding, it doesn't matter if it's 350 or 500 or 600, is all gonna feel the same. This is why it's good to be with a friend or two friends doing, technical stuff. Like the big adventure bike is not gonna, has its limitations. Like when I'm alone, I'm not brave to go and do some, some crazy trails by myself. Like I have to be with a friend or two, knowing that I'm gonna have help to make it through. But if you are by yourself, like, you better stick to, to what better stick to something safe. Don't get into travel. So yeah, like adding all that kit, it still makes the bike heavy. The bike, it's so hard to be maneuvering in some type of terrain when it's like when the gravel is loose, or you are doing some steep hills with rocky sections and all that. It's so like having all that luggage, even in a 300-pound bike, it still feels like a mule. So like I don't see any difference between like big adventure bikes and a small adventure loaded with all the luggage. But everyone is different. You pick whatever you think it's best for you, whatever it's gonna work for you. Don't listen to my talk. I'm just saying my opinion. Like for me right now, like what works is it's an adventure bikes. It makes more sense to me. But maybe one day I'm gonna get a smaller bike and see how it feels like. So if you like this type of videos, if you love adventure bikes, please subscribe to the channel. Talk to me in the comment. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.